Hello and welcome to the Eli Show. Please welcome your host, Eli Tanner.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, it's been another February week. It can sometimes be hot, sometimes be cold. Some big announcements coming at the end of the show. Stick on for that. But man, I'll tell you what, coming after a baseball game, baseball scrimmage, baseball starting up. I mean, basketball's ending. A lot of playoffs done with middle school, high school players are beginning, and starting to see the March Madness teams coming together. You know, I said this at the about the last 2 weeks of the NFL regular season. I said you're starting to see the teams divide, right? You've seen that in college. You've seen that even in your local high school gyms, You're starting to see the higher teams and the lower teams started to divide. And we're starting to see that, but also one more thing we're starting to see, even in the Olympics. I know there's not a ton of y'all Olympic viewers around here. I know I'm a big Olympic because I like to support my country, but you know, we are having 21 medals, 6 gold, 8 silver. I don't know the exact numbers comparing to some of these other teams that aren't exactly winter countries, but they're having high numbers. Japan has some high numbers. A lot of European teams have high numbers, but I'm also surprised about some lower numbers. You don't see, I don't know how much China has. I really haven't heard the name in the events I watch. I see Canada has quite a bit. Our arch enemy, and if y'all haven't been tracking the women's U.S. hockey team, which I'm assuming some of y'all aren't, but on Thursday we are facing them in the gold medal match, and it's going to be a good matchup. I'll say it's going to be two teams battling. And last time, U.S. easily won 5-0. As I said, that's a little bit more of a soccer term, but they won 5-0 against this our arch enemy, especially in hockey, Canada. And the men's hockey team hasn't lost. I don't know if they played today. It didn't really seem today. I was a little busy with a lot of different stuff, which we'll talk to later. But I'm watching this. There's some events that I like. I like the events or team events where I see them face on against each other, like bobsledding and the timing events. They go quick. I mean, it's thrilling. You just imagine what sport would I do if I was in the Winter Olympics, bobsledding or I actually like the skeleton race. I think that's really cool. Bobsledding is a little tight together. Don't know exactly all the rules of the Olympics, but also hockey. And I think hockey, I've never really played hockey. I know there's few people local, not a lot of people local that play hockey. But I know they're always on that thin ice, if y'all know what I mean. Yeah, I tell the little jokes here on the pod often, but hockey, I feel like it's one of those sports where it gets physical at points, but it's conservative too. You have to pass the ball, and you make a mistake that can lead to a goal, and there's very few goals. So you make one mistake, and now it's 1-0, and it could be 3-2, and that one goal is huge. It's just like soccer, but soccer's a lot bigger of a field. Soccer, they can't shoulder check each other into the wall. They can't start a little scuffle. I mean, this in soccer, you get a red card, get kicked out. You can do that in hockey, not in Olympics hockey as much because international they don't like fighting. But especially in the men's side, it gets physical out there. They talk a lot. It's all close and there's a lot of skill. And I'm not going to say there's not a lot of skill, but I'll tell you what, you could probably train someone. This is something I feel like you can train, and over the years you can be good at. And there's something about just training and being good at it. There's a few sports. I think baseball is one of them. No, I'm not the best. No, I'm never making it to the MLB, never making it probably into college. I'm accepting that. But people spend hours and hours and hours, and I'll tell you, probably 7 or 8 out of 10 of the times, they're probably making it far up. Not pro, but they're making it high up. You see people playing basketball over and over and over, unless they're just terrible, unless they have no chance of making it, they're going to go high up. And it's the dedication. What the difference between your dedication and your whole life. And I think a lot of these players, I forgot that Illa, I don't know how to say his name, but he's a great figure skater. He's like 18 or 19, real young, and he had all this pressure on him, and he spent time and time and time, and then you go up to, the biggest stage of your life, and you fall two or three times. And he said after it was all about the pressure, and that brings up the question: are putting too much pressure, one, on young players, and two, to win everything? And I even think middle school athlete, there's not a ton of pressure. You lose, you lose. You might get yelled at by a parent or two, or a teammate. But then you go up to high school and you lose, you lose your spot. You lose your starting spot. And then college is a different level. But then we're putting these guys like Cooper Flag out there. I mean, Cooper Flag's what, 19 in the NBA? And I've always man, why is there no young players in the MLB? And I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to build players. They're trying to make them. And I'll tell you what, baseball is mostly mental. I have this baseball stuff on. Just had a scrimmage, couldn't play because of my surgery, like I said last week. But it's mental, and so much of sports is actually mental. I talk about this on a podcast on YouTube for the Eli Show. But a lot of this stuff is mental, and it's dedication, but also overthinking and underthinking. Having that IQ. I was saying, someone made a good play, and I said you have the IQ of Einstein in baseball. And Einstein had a really high IQ, and he gave a lot to it, but he didn't give his whole life to it. And you gotta have a mix, because even the richest, they don't sit at their office all the time. They have fun, They have fun. So Super Bowl commercial. It's like you do all this work so you can have fun, a little bit. That's why you retire. That's why you have that. Some people don't have the chance to do that, but it's all about the mentality. Early, late, but don't overdo it, but don't underdo it. Yeah, with the baseball, we just had our first scrimmage. It's kind of early, I think. I couldn't play because of my ear surgery. 2.5 more weeks. On beginning of March, I can play right when the regular season begins. But it was a close match. But it was 4-4 against Greenville. Home school. I play for Ralph Chandler Middle School. But it was a tight game. It was a little bit of defense, a little bit of offense. It's one of those middle school games where man, you don't make that error, you're probably not losing. And no one's saying, "Oh man, we lost. That's our season." Nope. There's not that much pressure. No one's saying, "Oh, I lost $1 million on this bet." No, you didn't. "Oh, I lost my starting job." Bro, it's the first game. No one's saying that, and yet we put this pressure on ourselves mostly. But yeah, it was a good game. Stuff to work on. I was wearing this, my coaching gear. I'm basically, can't play, so why not coach? Not really, but yeah, try my best. And I got a topic to talk about. Let's talk about some basketball. Now, I know a Sunday night. I think, it was Sunday night, and I come home and I was like, oh yeah, the NBA All Star game. That's the number one reason. It's not that big of a deal, especially to me. The NBA All Star game. Just like the flag football game. I didn't even know it was on a Tuesday night a few weeks ago. Yeah, it was. But it was Sunday evening. They started it early, I feel like. And I was watching the championship game, and it was U.S. Stars versus U.S. Stripes. And I thought to myself, wait, isn't there supposed to be international? I was thinking, and I talked about this on the podcast last week. I said, international's going to easily win the game. I didn't know they were going to have 3 teams, first of all. I didn't know how they were going to do it. But I thought international was going to win the whole thing. They have stars. They have all this. Number one thing they don't have, though, I don't think they have the hustle. Now there's the young. I forget what they called it, the young stars or something, and the old. I don't know. But you had the young guys, and I think they both teams beat international. But they had the young guys, and they were moving, and they were passing the ball, they were shooting, they going quick. But then you have the old guys, and they're getting a little bit more physical in there. They're taking a little bit of a different approach, not like the Europeans. And they did get smoked against the young guys because it was their, 4th game? No, I don't think the old guys are better than the young guys. And I don't think the old guys are initially better than the international. Yes, they might have lost to them in an All-Star game. But you're playing a full game? No, LeBron James is not going to play that well. They're playing 10-minute games. They didn't even play a full game if you add all the games up for the championship. I mean, have we lost the fact of entertainment now? Have we lost the fact, of true fun in sports? Because I feel like it's all about making money. I feel like it's all about doing these things. And have we lost this fun and this attitude in sports? I mean, you go to a rec basketball game and you would have thought it's the national championship and everyone in the stands bet $1 million. No, it's a rec basketball team when there's 6-year-olds shooting in and missing and you're yelling at them for not calling a walk on a 6-year-old. I mean, it's crazy, the amount of both parents, the amount of, of fans that young of age, and then it carries on. And like we said, the pressure's huge, but they always want, I said this 2 times, and I guess on the theme, it should be the Eli show, it should be it should be money and glory. Yeah, that's what it should be because that's basically what leads most of the fans, the parents. No, it's not money in rec ball, but it's winning. I got that mentality too. I want to win a lot, right? I want to win a lot, but do I go and do I spend 5 or 6 hours a day training? No, because I don't have $1 million on the line. And if you're thinking of making it pro, first of all, have a B plan. First of all, your B plan should be making it pro. You should have an A plan, a job, thinking of colleges. I mean, depending on your age, of course. But not thinking going D1, playing at Clemson, starting at Clemson, going pro. Yeah, there's I think it was 1 in 1,000 D1 athletes actually make it professionally. It was a crazy number. I don't remember it completely, but it was it's sorry. It's thinking I think we're teaching our kids early that sports are almost everything, which is not. It's just a game. And I hate the SEC commercial that says it's more than a game. Is it? Is it more than a game? Because I lose, do I put my life on the line? No. Firefighting, it's more than a job. It's saving lives. It's a hero, right? Being an ER, it's more than a job, right? It's saving people. There's some things that are more than it actually is. It's more than the paycheck. Sports? Nah, not sports. Nah, I can't tell you that a thing is your job's more than your life or your family. It's not. You shouldn't abandon your family. You should abandon your kids for a job. Well, we're going down the dark path, I might say, but why not being my good friend? Billy Bob, And you guys might be wondering, man, why do you have a big bear? And I'll tell you why. It's because I have to tell you about my book. I told you this a long time ago, but my book is officially out on Amazon. You can get it for $10. Just look up Uphill Battle by Eli Tanner. Yeah, I got a lot of bear stuff around here because, since in second grade, this is a heartfelt story. Since in second grade, I wrote my first story about old Billy Bob, saving his mom. And since then, almost every single fiction essay, there's Billy Bob in it and the bear, and he's having different stories. And this story is about him going up for hibernation. He makes challenges on the way. He goes through, and it's a great kids book, but it's also for adults. He's climbing a mountain, and he tells stories. He tells great stories that have great themes. And they're based off of biblical stories, not exactly quote from quote, but it's a story, teaching the ways and teaching the theme. Like we said, life is an uphill battle, right? But you have to keep going. I got my inspiration for the for the title. Don't make fun of me, but I got it from the Miley Cyrus song "The Climb." That was, yeah. If you ever heard of it, it's gonna be an uphill battle. Yeah, I'm not singing. I'm keeping my day job, as they say. But yeah, my book's on Amazon. It took a while, but yeah, it's gonna be great. And hopefully you can take a look at it. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to do anything. I might put the link below. Well, that's the podcast. Thanks for watching. And sports, it's not more than a game. And oh, by the way, mustache is gone. Shave that off. 40 days from tomorrow's Easter. Thanks for watching. This is The Eli Show.